Bethesda. There's been thousands upon thousands of Bethesda do the bad and this game be not so rad videos posted online, and for me to take a stab at the bleeding heart of Bethesda would be like kicking a small puppy while it's drowning. You probably already know all about Fallout 76 and the Atomic Shop and the duffel bags and the Fallout First and the sweet little lies, and if you don't, just go watch Internet Historian's video. Or don't, I'm not your fucking mother. I mean, Bethesda is an interesting case. This publisher that is privately owned but also massive. It makes games like twice a decade, games that are both utterly broken and somehow amazing. People love them and hate them and love to hate them and love to hate the people that love to hate them. Today I'm gonna talk about Bethesda things, so grab your sweet rolls, I'm gonna cream. This is Ultima. No, it was not made by Bethesda, you fucking idiot. I'm pretty sure Todd Howard was an actor back then. It is important, possibly the most important game to our story. You spawn in with no guy, nobody telling you what to do. You don't even know what buttons to press, and there's like 20. But every moment of it is pure discovery. Even figuring out how to save is a moment of whimsy. Breath of the Wild ain't got shit on this. Walk into town, buy some stuff, eat some food, that's enough. Go in a cave, kill the rats, kill the bats, kill the... I don't know what this thing is. Cast spells and shoot arrows, it's all here. Ride your stallion through the gorgeous scenery as you're attacked by pirate ships and bears. If you think you're in for a generic Tolkien fantasy adventure, well, you are, until like halfway through the game, and then you're in space, fighting aliens, and they don't really explain that part. But who cares? When the enemies are as good as this, who needs lore? After all, it does have what may be the greatest villain in all of video games, the gelatinous cube. Imagine taking the core elements of an RPG and just cutting out all the bullshit. Yeah, that's Ultima. Then it's better than your favorite game, and you as a person. But my point here is that it's a baseline drawn in the sand, what every role-playing game should try and emulate. What do I mean by role-playing game? Well, let's just get out the old dictionary and look it up. Oh, that's pretty vague. By this definition, you could just say Banjo-Kazooie and the Me channel are RPGs. Now, some people might say you need to have stats, experience points, this thing, but most modern games of any kind have some elements of this. Now, the way I define a core RPG versus, it's probably an RPG, I don't know, is this. A roll of the dice, the element of chance. An attack misses, your shuckle commits die. See, in a game like this, you can't just whip out your Evo strats to kill the Blumby or whatever the enemy's called. You gotta know the mechanics, inside and out, and hope for a decent bit of luck. With Bethesda, they were known for one thing, and it was this. Arena Daggerfall was a core RPG series heavily inspired by the old school. Eventually we got the 3Ds with Morrowind, and yeah, it was still based on a roll of the dice. It was kind of turn-based. The systems were detailed, the spells fantastic. It made me engorged and my pants more elastic. Morrowind took the franchise into new grounds and new platforms that made Bethesda more accessible to the previously uninitiated. But whereas Morrowind was all about expanding on the past to build a detailed RPG with complex systems, Oblivion was, well, it wasn't that. This was a game made for consoles. The UI is controller friendly. There's less management of maps and quests and very context-specific spells. No longer did we have chance turn-based mechanics. This game was your hardcore action experience. This was super controversial for Bethesda's core fanbase. A lot of people saw it like this. Simplifying an experience for the benefit of more broad appeal. This shit was real gamer hours. This was for the little normies. But yeah, gosh, it sold pretty well. Look at that. Look at those sales. That's a lot more money for Pete Hines to rub on his boy parts compared to these games. And soon, yeah, we got Fallout 3, a franchise Bethesda adopted as their own after Interplay went kaplooey. And yeah, this whole debacle didn't go over well with the OG Fallout boys. You can see, it went from an isometric isometric turn-based RPG to what was essentially a looter shooter. Action points are not core, they're not even needed unless you use VATS, which you might because the gunplay is absolute garbage. This whole set of games took Bethesda from niche to gigantic, from Tiny the Tiger to Tony the Tiger. And yeah, New Vegas was made by Obsidian, so we're not talking about that today. And Skyrim was Skyrim. You know Skyrim. I know Skyrim. Donkey knows Skyrim. It sold like 32 million units, and it's probably going to be a couple game outlets game of the generation. Bethesda's strategy of going simpler and expanding to consoles seemed to work. I mean, it did create a whole new generation of gamers that got into RPG experiences, and I think that's great. But even this caused more of a rift for the purists and the newbies, as Bethesda's name and franchise was held in such a high regard. But this acclaim came from abandoning what made the franchise a mild success in the first place. There's this one detail about these games I haven't really mentioned yet, and that's the bugs and the glitches and the crashes. Bethesda is to broken games like John C. Reilly is to wrecking it. Years passed and new consoles came, and Bethesda was still pretty highly respected. People expected Todd Howard to rub his magic on us one more time. And we got this. People weren't that impressed. This is the least RPG of Bethesda RPGs. You got the dialogue tree, it's just, the perk system is simple. VATS is... yeah, I don't know, is VATS even in this? If you took out the morality system of this game, it's basically just Borderlands 3, which is an amazing game, but it's pretty different than this. Bethesda games have been on a trajectory of simplification for the sake of monetization, and that's where the story kinda ends. 76 is not by the core Bethesda team, the Skyrim and Fallout dudes. Even if Todd Howard's sweaty hands are rubbing it with vigor. The game sold really, really badly. An online experience Fallout game, which on paper sounds pretty cool. I'm sure Bethesda expected this thing to hit 10, 15, 20 million units, and it ended up being like 2. If I had to take a guess, these monetization efforts are an attempt to recoup losses. Bethesda is owned by ZeniMax, and this is a private company, so we don't get a lot of data out of the company because they're not bound to the whims of shareholders. They don't have to tell us what's going on. Sure, they want profit, all companies do, but they don't need exponential growth. And yeah, I will never defend this company or their bad decisions, but yeah, a private company doing something like this just raises my eyebrows a lot higher than EA dropping the ball again. But yeah, the discussion of Bethesda's downfall is greatly over-exaggerated. This was one bad mess, but Bethesda has always been messy. People will forget about 76 because people have short attention spans and will drop their self-imposed boycotts like a fucking goldfish. But at the same time, Bethesda hype will never reach those 2011 levels. I mean, Starfield is probably 2 years away, Elder Scrolls 6 to 7 years away. A kid born in 2011 is going to be a teenager when this game comes out, and he's not going to know about Oblivion or Fallout 3 or Skyrim or Fallout 4. Also, yeah, they're just a subsidiary of a company, and there's like a publishing arm beneath them and a development studio. The company's gonna stay afloat. CD Projekt Red is the big new name, the infallible company that's taken Bethesda's place. And at the same time, more open-world RPGs are out than ever. But there is always room in the market for good games. Bethesda seems to be one of the less shitty of the big publishers, even if they tread in sewage a lot more now than usual. Consider this. You ever think Bethesda is going away? Remember that people are already forgetting the Hong Kong Blizzard debacle. They're already defending the company's actions in an attempt to feel better about buying Diablo 4 or this fucking expansion pack. And nothing Bethesda has ever done has been anywhere as egregious as this, so yeah, I think this company will be just fine. And if you just hate Bethesda because of the broken games, and you want to return to a good old world where monetization doesn't ruin the experience, servers don't crash, and games actually just work, play this. Because honestly, even Todd Howard just wanted to make Ultima again. This is Tyler of Knowledge Hub.